Happy Thanksgiving. I'm Annie Laurie Gaylor.
And I'm Dan Barker, co-president with Annie Laurie of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And on this Thanksgiving 2025, I'm thankful to you for listening to this show. We're recording in the Stephen Ull Friendly Atheist Studio in Freethought Hall, our national headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin. What are you thankful for, Annie Laurie?
Well, I am thankful that we still have a First Amendment and, at least on paper, a separation between religion and government.
Well, I'm also thankful that I won't have to listen to any of these long prayers before I eat Thanksgiving dinner. Have you ever noticed that these people who pray, they forget to give thanks where thanks is really due, to the cook?
Often the woman. And yes, Anne Royal, who was considered the first canvasser for state church separation, said way back in 1820, good works, not long prayers. Hip hip hurrah for that. And Freethought Radio, by the way, is the weekly production of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, emphasis on from. We have two purposes: to keep religion out of government, as our Constitution requires, and to serve as a national clearinghouse for those of us who are personally free from religion. And I am very thankful for our 42,000 current members of the Freedom from of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And we'd be very thankful if you're not a member, if you join us at FFRF.org. Also, you may have noticed that we like to start our Thanksgiving shows with the enduring tune, Over the River and Through the Woods, and that's because the lyrics were written by another woman freethinker, Lydia Maria Child. She was an early 19th century writer, novelist, abolitionist, and anti-theologian.
As Annie Laurie promised, today we have a special program for you. We're going to see highlights from the spectacular 48th Annual National Convention of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which took place in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in mid-October.
So we'd like to start with our first actual speaker at that convention, Herb Silverman, who was also one of our funniest speakers. He received the Freethinker of the Year award, belatedly, for winning a case back in the 1990s overturning a religious test to run for office in South Carolina.
After teaching at the College of Charleston for 14 years, I underwent a major life change in 1990 when a colleague pointed out that our South Carolina Constitution prohibits atheists from becoming governor. I knew the U.S. Constitution barred religious tests for public office, so I went to our local ACLU, and a lawyer there told me an atheist would need to mount a legal challenge by running for governor. And he said the very best candidate would be me. Well, I looked around and didn't see any other volunteers, so I agreed to become the candidate without a prayer. During my campaign, I heard stereotypical comments that atheists are mean and angry protesters who do nothing but ridicule religion. I wanted to show that we do have a sense of humor. So here are some questions I was asked during my campaign and my answers. What would be the first thing you would do if you were elected governor? Demand a recount. What do you think are your chances of winning the election? Look, I'm an atheist. I'm not a fool. What would make you believe in God? Perhaps if I won the election, it would take that kind of a miracle. This included a debate on South Carolina public television. My friends thought I had won that debate, while friends of the other candidates probably thought they had won. But a year later, there was an objective way to determine the winner. Of the 3 participants in that debate, I was the only one who was not in jail.
And that was Herb Silverman, professor of mathematics at the University in Charleston. and founder of the Secular Coalition for America. And now I guess he's a stand-up comedian.
And speaking of comedians, our keynoter is a stand-up comedian, the podcaster and actor John Fugelsang, who is author of the new book, Separate Church and Hate. Here's a taste of his talk.
I want to wrap this up before bird flu hits, because I don't know about you, I've noticed every time these Christians elect Caligula, God sends a new plague. So I'm just, trying to be careful. Because, this is where we are, friends, and I'm so sorry it's under these conditions, but America apparently is a mob restaurant being burned down for the insurance money. I am ready to say at this point that the three worst presidents of my lifetime have been Dick Cheney, Vladimir Putin, and Elon Musk. I'm really ready to say it. Elon Musk makes me ashamed to be a racist billionaire with a ketamine problem. Do you understand? And he's a debit to his race. And also we should mention J.D. Vance, because, I'm a fan of comedy. And imagine a vice president so evil, we're all defending the Catholic bishops. I also want to announce after the speech, I will be in the lobby signing copies of the Donald Trump Bible. I hope you'll stop by. Finally, a Bible that bursts into flames the moment you bring it into a church. This has never happened before. I sign all my Bibles. I autograph all my Bibles. Jesus never autographed a single Bible, Never autographed a single crucifix either. I've signed hundreds of crucifixes. Let me tell you people about Crooked Christ, okay? Crooked Christ says he's Jesus of Nazareth, but he's born in Bethlehem. Which one is it? Where's he from? We don't know. He's a carpenter, Jesus. I hired him to work on my casino in the Sea of Galilee. Didn't pay him. Shoddy work, Jesus. No pay. It's all right. He's a Jew. They know how to sue. Folks, what I'm saying is this Jesus, he's 33. He never married. Hangs out with 12 other guys. I'm just saying.
That's John Fugelsang at our convention. A major theme at the conference was abortion rights. The Henry Zumack Freedom from Fundamentalist Religion Award of $50,000, which we could call FFRF's FFFR Award, which is entirely and generously endowed by Hank Zumack, went this year to the Center for Reproductive Rights. Accepting on behalf of the center was a former awardee of ours, the center's president, Nancy Northup.
But the case is part of a broader effort outlined in Project 2025 to undermine the FDA's science-based decisions on medication abortion. Health and Human Secretaries Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He echoed that goal of undermining the approval of medication abortion when he was running for president, and said he would restrict access to mifepristone if elected. And now, under the pressure from anti-abortion groups and their political allies, the FDA is indeed reevaluating mifepristone with the clear goal of restricting access even in states where abortion remains illegal. What I've outlined for you today, I know, is pretty bleak, but it does reflect the harsh realities that we all need to be clear-eyed about of the state of reproductive rights, and specifically abortion rights in this country. But at the core, and we need to carry this with us, this truth remains. It is a basic right and dignity to control your body, your health, your family, and your future. And the Center for Reproductive Rights has always been and will always be there to protect these fundamental freedoms. I promise you that. I guarantee you that.
Moving forward, that was the theme of a talk by FFRF's Regional Legislative Manager, Mickey Dollens, who is also a seated state legislator in Oklahoma. Here's an excerpt of Mickey's inspiring speech.
My name is Mickey Dollens. I'm the Regional Government Affairs Manager for the Action Fund, and I'm also a current legislator from the OK state of Oklahoma. I say okay, but we're doing a lot better now that Ryan Walters is gone. Am I right? The people in this room give me hope. My kids give me motivation. And this work gives me purpose. As Thomas Paine once said, I prefer peace, but if trouble must come, let it be in my time so that my children can live in peace. Even in the most difficult circumstances, we have the power to choose how we engage. So where do we go from here? To the hotel bar. Open bar, drinks on Dan Barker. But before we hit the beach with pina coladas in hand, we need to do some work. I've created this framework called the Forward Method to help everyday people navigate the legislature, city council, how to effectively lobby their elected officials. I've had the opportunity to share this message with our friends in Austin, with our friends in Arkansas, this is the Ozark chapter, and also just last month in San Francisco. And speaking of the presentation in San Francisco, just hours before that presentation, I was getting ready and I accidentally dropped my shirt in the toilet. Don't worry, it wasn't this shirt. But in that moment, I realized I had the perfect opener for my speech. I appreciate my shirt, and I can appreciate the toilet, but I prefer them separate, like church and state. Am I right?
Coming up, we'll see more and hear more of the FFRF convention highlights, including the Godless Gospel singers, the satiric songwriter Roy Zimmerman, Katherine Stewart, Mary L. Trump, and more. We'll be right back with more Freethought Radio.
Hi, I'm Scott Nickelbein, FFRF's Director of IT, and I'm here in the studio to give you a first look at FFRF's newest media venture, Freethought TV. Freethought TV is a streaming service for your smart TV, streaming stick, or smartphone that lets you watch the latest FFRF programs whenever you want, free of charge. Freethought TV also gives you access to hundreds of programs we've produced right here over the years, including the most popular FFRF videos of all time. Freethought TV is easy to install. Just go to the App Store on your device and search for Freethought TV. Follow the on-screen instructions to install the app, and you're ready to start enjoying the best in secular programming right from the comfort of your living room. You can watch complete seasons of FFRF classics like Freethought Matters and Ask an Atheist. Plus, you'll get instant access to a powerhouse lineup of original shows, including candid interviews with celebrities, lawmakers, and secular activists, inspiring talks by best-selling authors and leading journalists, dynamic appearances by social media celebrities, legal insights from FFRF's expert attorneys, and laugh-out-loud comedy and wonderful musical performances. And of course, unforgettable speeches from FFRF's national conventions. There's a search function so you can find any episode instantly. And if you sign up for a free personal account, you get access to even more features. Freethought TV. It's free content for free minds.
Speaking freely, thinking freely. This is Freethought Radio.
Welcome back to Freethought Radio. I'm Dan Barker.
I'm Annie Laurie Gaylor. We're listening, or watching, as the case may be, some highlights of FFRF's 48th Annual National Convention last month in South Carolina with a standout group of speakers and presenters. And by the way, If these excerpts intrigue you, you can watch the full speeches at FFRF's YouTube channel or download the free app, Freethought TV, and in either spot, look for the Convention Speeches playlist.
Let's bring in some youth now. FFRF has given more than $130,000 this year in scholarships to youth activists and student essay winners. We invited 3 of the essay winners from FFRF's Black Indigenous Students of Color contest to read their very moving speeches that they wrote. They were asked to write about how white Christian nationalism poses a threat. First, let's hear from Gianna Hightower.
I wake up in the morning and breathe. I look at myself in the mirror and wonder what today will bring. The sun rises, but peace doesn't. When I walk down the street, I carry more than a body. I carry generations of struggle, a patchwork of identities that make me a walking target. Black, woman, queer, non-religious. To whom do I pose a threat by simply existing? The answer stares back. White Christian nationalism. Among the many freedoms under siege, reproductive rights cut the deepest into my life, my future, and my body. White Christian nationalism does not just oppose abortion, it seeks to control people like me under the illusion of morality. It wraps misogyny and racism in scripture, turning faith into a weapon against my autonomy. It's in the way they paint people like me as immoral for daring to demand control over our bodies. But I refuse to be silent. As a non-religious person, my resistance begins in truth-telling. I speak, I write, and I vote. I challenge the narrative that morality must be Christian or white. I support organizations that provide reproductive care and education, especially in communities of color. I hold conversations that others are afraid to have, even if my voice shakes. And I imagine a country where freedom isn't conditional, where rights aren't reserved for the few. And I imagine a world where I am not a threat for simply breathing. Until then, I'll keep breathing, keep walking, and keep fighting. Because just existing in America is an act of defiance, and I'm not done existing yet.
Next is student essay winner Gabrielle Williams, 19, a sophomore at Howard University, who wrote on Unholy Alliance, When Nationalism Wears a Cross.
Many of the students who mocked DEI efforts came from homes and churches steeped in Christian nationalism ideology. These communities preached colorblindness over equity, insist America was founded as a Christian nation, and claim racism ended with the Civil Rights Act. To them, DEI wasn't about justice. It's a threat to their worldview. But DEI isn't about guilt. It's about recognition and repair. It ensures that all students are seen, heard, and given equal opportunities. White Christian nationalism, rooted in myths of divine favor and American exceptionalism, resists this entirely. It tells young white Christians they are the true Americans and that telling the full truth about our history is unpatriotic. This isn't abstract. When legislators influenced by Christian nationalism ban critical race theory or cut DEI funding, control what stories are allowed in schools like mine, they tell students our experiences are too controversial or simply irrelevant. As a non-religious student, I find strength not in a holy book, but in honesty. White Christian nationalism is not fringe. It's a powerful force shaping education, policy, and culture in ways that endanger civil rights and silence marginalized communities. I reject religion not because I reject community, but because I believe community should be built on mutual respect, not divine hierarchy. We don't need dogma, we need dignity. DEI isn't dumb, it's necessary. And I'll keep fighting for it, without scripture, without shame, and without fear. Thank you.
And our first place winner in that essay contest is Mika A. LeClaire. She's 20. She belongs to the Ponca tribe of American Indians.
For centuries, Indigenous women have been denied bodily autonomy. We have been mass raped and forcibly sterilized by white colonizers who awarded themselves jurisdiction over our bodies. This, alongside other barbaric actions performed against my people, was justified under the guise of manifest destiny, otherwise defined as violent, systemic oppression in the name of the Christian God. White Christian nationalism is, to me, indistinguishable from the fundamental American ideology that bred such abhorrent institutions as the Atlantic slave trade and state-sanctioned genocide against the indigenous population. These systems were founded in the belief that Black and indigenous people are subhuman races, that we are incompatible with the superior European and Christian values of our oppressors. The argument for rescinding reproductive rights is reliant on the belief that abortions, and by some interpretations contraceptives, are forbidden within the laws of Christianity. Any educated American, however, would be quick to point out that our Constitution cites the freedom to practice any religion, within the very First Amendment, no less. Therefore, it would be entirely unconstitutional to force the American public into obeying the rules of a religion that they do not subscribe to. Voting is imperative to making my voice heard. I express my secular beliefs with the same vigor and intensity as my Christian counterparts. Alongside my community, I have the power to remind members of this ideology that they're not the only ones who can unite towards a cause. Thank you.
So thanks to generous FFRF members, we offer 2 major student activist awards of $5,000 each. Winning the Out of God's Closet Diane and Stephen Uhl Student Activist Award was Bailey Harris, who first received an award from FFRF at age 12 when she wrote her first Stardust book for children about science. Bailey, now 19, has just written her 4th book in this series, Darwin's Journey. She showed an entertaining PowerPoint presentation, then concluded,
"Our existence is small and yet profoundly meaningful. Somehow in all this vastness, we exist. And we are not separate from the universe. We are the universe made conscious. Stardust with a heartbeat is what I like to think about it like. And in the truth, there is something profoundly, unshakably sacred. We are small, yes, but we are not insignificant. And we are the cosmos dreaming of itself."
And receiving the $5,000 Beverly and Richard Hermsen Student Activist Award was Eli Frost, who's 18, a recent high school graduate who campaigned for 3 years to get his school to move graduation from a huge Christian church to a secular venue.
Grace Church does not care about people, and seemingly as a reward for their bigotry, our district was paying them over $30,000 a year to host graduation. I was taught by my parents to treat others how you want to be treated, with respect, which I thought was a Christian value, but here we are. And Grace Church can't even muster common human decency. I fought for this change because I will never let anyone be discriminated against in my community if I can help it. So much in life, as we've heard throughout the convention, is out of our control or seemingly far out of our control. But this time I had the chance to try and make a positive change, so I tried my best.
And he tried his best, and he won. The graduation was eventually moved from the church. So coming up, we have some celebratory music and highlights from secular democracy proponents, including Katherine Stewart, New York Times columnist Jamelle Bouie, professor of Harvard Stephen Levitsky, and Mary L. Trump.
Hi, I'm Ron Reagan, an unabashed atheist, and I'm alarmed, as you may be, by the intrusions of religion into our secular government. That's why I'm asking you to join the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest and most effective association of atheists and agnostics working to keep state and church separate, just like our founders intended. Please join the Freedom from Religion Foundation today. Ron Reagan, lifelong atheist, not afraid of burning in hell.
As Mark Twain said, faith is believing what you know ain't so. This is Freethought Radio.
And welcome back. I'm Dan Barker.
I'm Annie Laurie Gaylor.
FFRF's 2026 Avijit Roy Courage Awardee had to speak remotely from Nigeria. The award memorializes Avijit Roy, a Bangladeshi American who was assassinated in Bangladesh for his atheism in 2015. This year's recipient was Mubarak Bala, who was imprisoned for 5 years in Nigeria for blasphemy and for being an apostate from the Muslim religion.
People will say you have to be crazy and you have to be careful because this could get you killed. But I'm just a teenager. So in my university, I gradually grew out of this and I got my independence of mind and I was comfortable with what I thought is right. And then I started telling my family and then started writing. It was activism, but there was no internet, so I could just write letters to governors or to presidents about how I think our society should be governed. And no one would listen. Then one day I felt I have to tell my mother because I was traveling to the UK for my master's degree, petrochemical engineering. And I told her I wouldn't want to break your heart because if I left, I would tell the world that I'm not a Muslim, I don't believe in Islam anymore. And it has been like this for almost half a decade, but I want you to know. And the mother felt maybe sympathy for me, that maybe I may not go to the paradise. Everybody would go and be saved while I'm condemned. So she was really concerned and she told my father, instead of my father to sit with me and discuss these things with me, because I thought he was reasonable enough to understand it because he went to school. Instead of that, he arranged for a psychiatric evaluation because the Sharia demands if you said you don't believe, you got 3 days, 72 hours to recant and repent and convert back, or you would be subjected to psychiatric evaluation where after the confirmation that you left the religion, you're supposed to lose your head. In some instances, it says if they can't kill you, maybe they could crucify you, but only after you lose opposing limbs, lose one arm and one leg, left arm, right leg, all the same, and then you get crucified or exiled. Or you could be exiled, which is what I've been facing for a decade plus now, exile.
Imagine being exiled or imprisoned for blasphemy. This is the kind of thing that happens in an autocratic theocracy, and that leads to a series of eloquent speakers at the convention addressing the growing threats to our secular democracy. First, let's hear from journalist Katherine Stewart, author of the powerful expose, Money, Lies, and God, Inside the Movement to Destroy American Democracy.
Religious nationalism in its extreme form is an authoritarian's best friend. Organizations like Freedom House and the World Population Review, they have maps that score different countries on their measures of freedom. There's some variation among the scores, but broadly speaking, the maps show that countries that are the most religious nationalist are overrepresented as the most unfree. Discrimination against women, against sexual minorities, against religious minorities, and other disfavored groups is endemic. Journalists are censored or persecuted. Political opposition is squelched. Unsurprisingly, these countries are the most oligarchic and corrupt, and these things are linked. If we examine these countries, they're not exactly theocracies, properly speaking. There's, of course, an official religion, and the government attempts to impose those religious values on everybody. But these countries are better described as cronyistic kleptocracies with absolute suppression of free speech and political opposition. And so religious nationalism is just one among several tools. Why do authoritarians love religious nationalism so much? Part of it is distraction. If you can get a population divided amongst themselves, squabbling about culture war issues, and outrage, focused on outrage politics, then you give them scapegoats they can blame for their problems. They're not going to look for the real sources of their problems. They're not going to look at the corruption of their leaders. They won't notice the leaders are enriching themselves and their friends at the public's expense. The other part is fear. More specifically, it's about giving people an enemy so vile and hateful that all measures against it are imperative. It's about creating a sense of crisis. We're seeing this in our administration today, saying wokeism, whatever that is, equality, is an emergency. And therefore, any breaking of the rules, any violation of norms is justified in defeating this terrible enemy.
That was Katherine Stewart. This year's Freethought Heroine Award made a deliberate statement because it went to Chrissy Stroop, a transgender woman, survivor of evangelical Christianity and author of the book Emptying the Pews.
But I just never quite felt like I could fit quite right, like I could go along with the flow of everything instead of stepping back and kind of just observing life. And I always felt a little uncomfortable in my own skin. But it took me actually until I was 33 years old to realize that I was queer, because that was all just still repressed. And I was working through so many underlying issues, this kind of long-standing crisis of faith. By the time I was 21 or 22, I certainly didn't believe in hell anymore. I was still trying to believe in God and Jesus. But I was actually still very afraid of hell. You don't shake the fear as quickly as you can shake the ideas and the beliefs, because it is so instilled in you when from your earliest years, you are told that basically you're broken, you're a terrible person, you're lucky that God loves you, only He can fix you. You got to have Jesus in your heart, and if you don't, you're going to be tortured literally forever. As a highly sensitive kid, that does some damage. And then that also means you got to check all these particular boxes. You've got to live that middle-class, white, picket fence dream. And within this whole framework, what I want to talk about now, what I kind of want to shift to emphasizing, is the power of stories. And I know I'm not the first person to bring that up at this conference, or even the first person to say that the Christian right uses stories to exert control. And they don't want to just tell their own stories. They want to make everyone else fit into their story. They want to tell my story. They want to tell your story. And part of what I've been trying to do with promoting ex-evangelical literature and ex-evangelical community is to try to get that counter story out there, reclaim my own story, help other people reclaim their stories, so that we don't just end up being object lessons and swept away by this Christo-fascist movement that is so powerful in America right now.
That was Chrissy Stroop. And next, we want to feature Harvard professor Stephen Levitsky, who gave a powerful talk he called The Great Abdication, America's Descent into Authoritarianism.
I don't think I've been surrounded by this many atheists since my bar mitzvah. I don't think we're headed to a consolidated Putin-style dictatorship. The slide into competitive authoritarianism is real, but it's really important to remember that it is reversible. It's a fairly modest descent into authoritarianism, and it is utterly, utterly reversible. It is not true that the game is up. That is utterly false. The Trump administration is pretty incompetent. It makes a lot of mistakes. It is overreaching in ways that are costing its support. That will give the opposition opportunities. Secondly, relatedly, Trump is not very popular. Unpopular autocrats have a harder time consolidating power. Trump and Bolsonaro were both in the low 40s when they tried and failed to overturn elections. South Korean President Yoon, remember him? He had a 20% approval rating when he tried and failed to declare martial law last year. So one takeaway, never try to declare martial law when you got 20% approval rating. Finally, we got a strong civil society. We have a strong opposition party. This is not Russia. This is not El Salvador. Our society has more than enough muscle to stop Trump. But the opposition can only win if it stays in the game. Democracies do not automatically defend themselves. People have to defend them. Authoritarians have to be beaten. That means that politicians, judges, CEOs, media owners, university presidents, law firms have to stand up and fight back, because no one has ever defeated an autocracy from the sidelines.
No one has ever defeated autocracy from the sidelines. That's Stephen Levitsky. And topping off our speakers who are looking at Christian nationalists and other threats to democracy was New York Times columnist Jamelle Bouie.
To me, the easy answer is that if the framers of the if the drafters of the Declaration, if the drafters of the Articles of Confederation, if the framers of the Constitution, if the first Congress, if any of these people had wanted the United States to be a specifically Christian nation, they would have, at some point, just written that down, right? You will hear modern day reactionaries go on and on about Western civilization. America is defending Western civilization, et cetera, et cetera. And one thing that's interesting is that Americans of the founding generation and the subsequent generations, they would often contrast themselves with Europe, right? They would contrast themselves with the usual course of so-called Western civilization. They would say that here we're doing something different. We're not doing what they did in Europe. We're not doing what they did in the United Kingdom. We have links to that. We have heritage there, but we are doing something different. And one of the different things they imagined that they were doing was not to have established churches, was not to have the kind of official religion that led to bloody centuries of sectarian warfare in Europe, which was not that far in the distant past for them, right? It was not that far away that this happened. So if you're encountering someone who rejects that, well, they didn't write it down observation, then I would just point to the fact that these are people. They were intelligent men. They were aware of their history, and they were not trying to repeat those mistakes. They would repeat other mistakes, but not those ones.
Jamelle Bouie is my favorite Sunday columnist in the New York Times, and he also received our Clarence Darrow Award. If you are watching and wondering what that little figure is, that's the statuette he got. And again, you can watch the entire speeches from FFRF's 48th Annual National Convention at FFRF's YouTube channel, or better yet, download our new Freethought TV app to watch them and look at years of many of our best convention speakers.
Coming up, we're going to end with Mary Trump and with some music, the irreverent Roy Zimmerman and Godless Gospel. I'm Dan Barker with Annie Laurie Gaylor. We'll be back with more Freethought Radio.
If you'd like to stay up to date on FFR's activities, subscribe to Freethought Today, published 10 times a year. It includes church-state separation news, columns about non-theism, a freethinkers crossword puzzle, and so much more. You can learn more at freethoughttoday.com or ffrf.org.
Margaret Sanger's motto was, "No gods, no masters." This is Freethought Radio.
I'm Annie Laurie Gaylor. Welcome back to Freethought Radio.
And I'm Dan Barker. We're listening, or some of you are watching, highlights from FFRF's 48th Annual National Convention in South Carolina in October 2025.
Our Emperor Has No Clothes Award, nominated by Sacramento member Judy Saint, was none other than Mary L. Trump. She signed copies of her books for hours, and this is just a brief excerpt of her memorable talk.
I almost did not accept this award because I didn't want to have to imagine this particular emperor with no clothes. But this organization and its cause is far too important. It is a cause I believe in deeply, and hopefully I will be able to convey that to you adequately tonight. I don't like saying this, but I'll explain it. Donald is a heathen in this sense. He does believe in a higher power, but he believes the higher power is him. Which again, not as cool as being an atheist. So no, he is not an atheist. I do actually find his whole talking about the afterlife thing fascinating, though. And my hope is that is his unconscious recognition of who he is and what he deserves breaking through, which he has spent his entire life trying to prevent. So that's something we can take comfort in. Hallelujah.
That was Mary L. Trump. And Dan, can you tell us something about our singers at the convention?
Yeah, we had Godless Gospel, Black Nonbelievers President Mandisa Thomas, and the author Candace Gorham, and the activist Cynthia McDonald are part of the Godless Gospel group, of which I'm the executive producer. They energized us during the conference at different times, singing throughout the event. Here's a clip from one of the songs. It's called Life is Good, where Cynthia gets to go into her preacher mode.
Oh, come on, tell me life is good. Tell me how life is good, yeah. Life is good. I want to tell you something. Life is good. That life is good. Life is good. Can I tell you one more time now? Life is good. That life is good. Life is good. If you want to snap your fingers, life is good. And tell me life is good. Life is good. I want to tell you again now. Life is good. That life is good. Life is good. I'm going to shake my shoulder. Life is good. To tell you life is good. Life is good. Hey, life is good. Oh, life is good, yeah. Life is good. I don't worry about going to hell. I don't even worry about heaven. Life is good. Life is good. 'Cause I don't need Jesus to tell me how to live my life. Tell me how I need to walk upright. Tell me I need a light on my path. Tell me that I need to vote and fast. I don't need any other, no, 'cause I know that life is good. Come on, tell the life is good. Tell the life is good. Come on, tell the life is good.
Now, Life is Good with the Godless Gospel Singers, and they were singing Dan's song, Life is Good.
Finally, let's end with more music. The singer-songwriter Roy Zimmerman. He's singing his song, Defenders of Marriage.
Every time we think about same-sex marriage, it makes us sick to our guts. I mean, to people who want to commit to a stable, monogamous, lifelong relationship, what are they, nuts? It's unnatural. Now, a man should not lie with a person who is a guy. He should only lie to his wife. The Bible is clear. We're defenders of marriage in 3-button suits. We'll raise our double standard and see who salutes. Defenders of marriage, defending the institution against people who want to get married. Every time we think about same-sex parents, oh my gosh, we exclaim. I mean, to people who want to provide a protective and nurturing family environment, have they no shame? It's so deviant. It's the Lord's holy word, as my second wife said to my third, that a family's based on obligation and fear. We're defenders of marriage, connubial narcs, ever vigilant and patriotic patriarch. Defenders of marriage, defending the institution against people who want to get married. One summer evening when my woman was doing laundry, I shared a six-pack with an old John Bircher, and oh so wisely he imparted an ancient quandary to ponder. He said it's nature versus legislature. Are people born gay, or do they turn gay just to piss off Nick Fuentes? Defenders of marriage with a militant stance. Let's get the government out of our lives and into our pants. Defenders of marriage, defending the institution against people who want to get married and have their insurance carried and be beneficiaried and be next to the ones they love when they are buried.
The great Roy Zimmerman, so clever. Once again, you can watch the entire speeches on FFRF's YouTube channel. Look for the convention playlist, or on our new app, Freethought TV. They're also embedded at our website, ffrf.org, under the conventions, which you can find at the outreach link. So 3 ways to watch. And if you're a member of FFRF, you'll be reading their speeches over the next 6 months or so in our newspaper, Freethought Today.
That was a great convention in South Carolina, and the next one is going to be in
Milwaukee in mid-October.
In 2026. And we've already booked Jim Obergefell. He's the guy that the Supreme Court's Obergefell decision is named for, legalizing same-sex marriage.
And he's an atheist.
And our favorite unabashed atheist, not afraid of burning in hell, Ron Reagan, will also be there.
So we're already looking forward to it. And that's our show for today. If you're a member of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, thank you very much. And if not, please join us or ask for more information at ffrf.org. You can also phone 1-800-335-4021. You can request a sample copy of our newspaper, Freethought Today. Go to our website, ask for info. Support FFRF's vital state church litigation and become part of the nation's largest association of freethinkers.